It's right next to the roadside post advertising parking. You buy your ticket from the machine 2 metres away, display it and head for the sightseeing and the shopping. And having spent some money in the town, you return full of goodwill towards Buxton and its friendly inhabitants. Then you notice a traffic warden lurking nearby. He looks delighted to have stuck a parking penalty notice on your car. Yes, your visit to Buxton is ending with a £70, 700 krona parking penalty. £35 though, if you pay within 14 days. How can this be, you ask him? That's very simple, he says, looking smug. You've parked in a permit-only bay. Didn't you read the sign? People do this all the time. It makes us a lot of money. And of course, you had read the sign, but like hundreds of other people every year, you'd misread it. Because the roadway to the right of the sign is for parking by residents with permits only, and the roadway to the left of the sign is for pay and display parking only. These white lines are all that separate the two areas. And the crucial detail, easily missed, is the direction of the arrows on the signpost. Well, this happened to me. I appealed, refusing to pay because the lack of a clear division between the two kinds of parking was misleading. I also emailed a local authority councillor who was interested in plain language and asked if she could do anything to improve the signs. It took 9 months and complaints from other motorists, but finally the council sent a van, and a bucket of white paint, and he wrote a big new sign on the tarmac alongside the permits only section, which declared permit holders only. The type is so big, the lettering is so big, I can only show you the word permit. To show you that the rest of the text is there, permit holders only. Some interesting local opinion emerged after a front page story about this parking trap appeared in the local newspaper. Naturally, Derbyshire County Council denied that there had been any problem, saying, the two bays are well marked and signposts, note the line plural, make it clear, I love that, make it clear, which bay is permit-only parking. To help motorists further, a permit holders only instruction was painted on the road surface on 27th of July. Correspondents to the local newspaper thought otherwise, however, describing the council as sanctimonious, underhand and negligent. People sometimes say that protesting about bad public information is a waste of time, nothing will change, and that even if you write a clear leaflet or a clearer sign, people will still ignore it. So what happened in this case? Did the extra road marking work? Fortunately, we know exactly what happened because the figures can be got using Freedom of Information rules. From 19th of February 2009, when the council took over parking enforcement, till 26th of July 2010, when the new road sign was painted, 894 penalty notices were issued in Water Street. It's only a tiny street. An amazing 87% of these, which is 775 notices, were for parking in the permit-only section. That's 540 penalties on average every year, or to put it in tourism terms, 540 disgruntled visitors to Buxton who find that they've just had a very expensive day out. From when the new road sign was painted until 1st of March 2011, when I put in my request for information, 181 penalty notices were issued in Water Street. Of these, 111 were for the permit-only section. That's 61%, or 26 percentage points below the previous level. So the number of no permit penalties was now only 186 a year on average, a huge reduction of nearly 2/3. Even this figure, of course, is high and suggests that there's more that could be done to avoid misleading a motorist. The money saving to motorists is from £12,400 to £24,800 a year, depending on whether people pay the full or early payment penalty. So let's split that and say £18,000 a year saved for motorists. That's 180,000 krona. This represents 15% of Buxton's entire annual take from parking penalties. Water Street was probably the council's biggest single money maker for parking all throughout the town. This little protest would therefore have cost the council £18,000 a year. There's no wonder they come round to my house visiting me. I do hope they'll get it back though from happy motorists, happy tourists who return to Buxton to spend the money in the local shops, perhaps on pornographic trolls, instead of feeling resentful that they're being cheated by bad signs. Council officials must have known from the huge amount of cash they were taking from a handful of parking signs that something was seriously wrong. Yet they kept taking the money, month after month. Negligence, incompetence, wickedness. Whatever it was, they were treating motorists with total contempt and ripping them off. Second story. One day I got lucky. I'd just done a radio programme about plain language. I was sitting in a pub near Euston Station in London having a beer before the train home. A call came through on my mobile from a man who'd heard the programme. He said to me he'd received a letter from a government agency responding to his complaint about postal services. He didn't like the letter. It turned out to be as bad a letter as he said it was, crawling with errors of punctuation, grammar and spelling, and it made no sense either. So I sent a pleasant and friendly letter of complaint on his behalf to the agency's chiefs in London, asking if they thought there was a problem, and if so, could we at Plain Language Commission help? Astonishingly, they replied straight away, contrite about the dreadful letter and seeking a meeting. So it's back on the train to London, where they have red buses, that's not the train, from my country retreat, to talk the whole thing through. Over the next few years, we analysed their letter writing problems, did a quarterly check of a sample of their correspondence, ran training courses for their staff all over the UK, and earned about £50,000, 500,000 krona in fees for our work. So a single letter of complaint, if you can reach the right person, can prove highly lucrative and do some good. That's probably why I can afford to be here today. Third story. Early in 2011, I received a copy of a fact sheet sent to mainly elderly people by Leicestershire County Council, which is in the Midlands. The man who sent it to me wrote, "This was sent to my wife, who is very disabled with a Parkinson's type disease." The whole document's too long to show you on the screen, but here is a paragraph from it, which I will read. The folk in the interpreting suite have a copy of this presentation, so they'll be able to prepare a translation in Swedish. I think they may have needed some time. When the Commission services are due to be billed, an invoice will only be issued if the total contribution for both the Commission services and the direct payment has not already been collected by reducing your direct payment covering the same period, and your next direct payment amount will not be large enough to deduct the outstanding balance. This kind of writing is probably why many of us in this room are involved in the plain language field or movement or profession or whatever we have to call it. Even allowing for some subject knowledge among the readers, it's likely to be baffling. So what to do about it? I noticed that the department's web pages showed examples of good, clear writing, including some well-designed material for people with reading difficulties. So I emailed the head of department, complimenting him on the excellence of this information and asking whether he could apply the same skills to rewriting the fact sheet concerned and then reissue it. And in case the department needed our help with this, I offered to give some help on a non-profit basis. Nearly a month passed without reply. This really annoys me. I emailed him again, asking him whether he would care to respond. He did reply, and this is it. I won't name him. You see the name. Martin, thank you, lowercase t, for your reply, for your letter. Apologies, double P, for not responding earlier. The authority produces many pieces of information, and we try to adhere to plain, lowercase e English, to ensure we are as clear as possible. We also have easy write expertise. I am grateful for your comments, which we will note and seek to address, Connor. This kind of pathetic effort really cheeses me off. So I waited a few days to calm down, like you do, trying to think of a good tactic to remedy the situation, but I couldn't. So I completely burned my boats by sending in this follow-up email. Should I care that your short reply includes at least 4 mistakes? No one expects perfection from busy people, but for there to be so many errors suggests to me that you do not take the matter seriously. When you say you will seek to address my comments, what exactly does this mean? It gives the impression of being a meaningless phrase of the kind beloved by Sir Humphrey Appleby in Yes Minister. What will you actually do, and by when, please? I wish to give a clear statement to your intentions to my correspondent, one of your council taxpayers. Under freedom of information rules, please let me know what your animals say. It's a very reasonable letter. There's no response to any of these questions, except on the matter of his salary. I thus learned that this head of department is paid the extraordinary annual salary of £131,000 a year. 1.3 million krona. Tells us lots about our local government that somebody who writes such total drivel can be paid massive amounts of money. So in this case, my complaint seems to have achieved little or nothing yet. I've probably failed to get the documents improved, but at least I've tried. I may yet take up the matter with the council's chief executive. He is paid £193,000 a year. That's 1.93 million krona. So probably it will seem too trivial a matter for his pay grade. Let's the next few slides. Great story, but it can wait for another day. Finally, to product instructions, which by law are supposed to be clear to the intended users. After buying a self-assembly bunk bed from John Lewis's, my local department store, I spent several frustrating hours trying to follow instructions like this. Please note, this bunk bed is designed so that the roots of all 4 panels are visible and viewed from the foot end, with initial caps, of the assembly of the bed, i.e. the head end panels face into the bed and the foot end panels face away from the bed. I complained to the store, trying not to be too pedantic about bad grammar, crazy capitalisation and weird spelling, but focusing instead on the mysterious word roots. Well, I received a reply from Carol Lee, the director of buying hard furnishings, saying this. The word roots is a manufacturing term coming from router, the machine that creates grooves. I am not aware that our customers find this difficult to understand. To date, we have not had any other comments with this sentence. So there you are. Roots is a term that everyone should know, even though it's not in the dictionary, and doesn't in fact derive from router at all. It's a made-up word. And because nobody else has complained, there is, of course, no problem. This is how many authors still think about their readers. If the readers can't understand, they must be idiots. They haven't been to the right school. In this case, the school of made-up words. Nothing changes if you don't complain about bad writing. I urge everyone to complain. Do it pleasantly, not too pedantically. Don't give up. Often you'll succeed in getting improvements. Sometimes if you're doing it to gain new business, you'll succeed in that too. So to answer the questions in my title, yes, complaining about bad writing can achieve a lot, and yes, it does make me feel much more cheerful. This picture shows.